Добрий день.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. My name is Oleh, and I'm happy to see everybody here in Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform. It's been 9 years of the war, and today is day 392 of the full-scale invasion of our homeland by a Russian aggressor. And I want to thank the representatives of all the mass media who tell the world the truth about our heroic resistance. We invited all of you today for a very important event, the presentation of the results of the charitable action that is going on for 1 year. It's devoted to Ukrainian Book, and it's called a Ukrainian Book for Ukrainian Children. It was founded 1 year ago, and it was initiated by the State Committee of Broadcasting with the support of the Office of the President and the Ministry of Culture and Information Policy. More than 100 books were issued, and 600,000 books were already handed to the educational institutions. They are both training books and just simple novels. They were handed to the kids inside of Ukraine and abroad too. So I want to introduce our speakers today. It's Oleksandr Tkachenko, Minister of Culture and Information Policy of Ukraine; Oleh Nalyvaiko, Head of State Committee for Television and Radio Broadcasting; Emine Japarov, the Deputy Minister of Foreign Affairs; and joining us online are Myroslav, Kastran, Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Slovak Republic, and Vasil Zvaric, the Ambassador Extraordinary and Plenipotentiary of Ukraine to Poland. So, Mr. Oleksandr, let's start with you. Please tell us about the results of this action. Well, many things were unique during this war, and I'm happy that many of such things are continuing as initiatives during this year. So I want to thank everybody who got involved. First of all, the publishers, because it was a volunteers' effort. First of all, the publishers who are present here: Folio, Ranok, Osvita, Antologia, Abetka, Chorny Vivci, Black Sheep, the 21st Century Book, Kniga 21 Stolitya, and other got united so that our kids and our internally displaced people could get Ukrainian book. It's no secret that Russians see book as a weapon too, because in occupied territories we've seen how they were gathering books in Ukrainian language, and it was only because they were in Ukrainian language and they were trying to either destroy them or to steal them. So in the occupied territories it's very important to continue this initiative, and this is why we started this effort with the invincibility stations. And for the military, there is an effort, Book to the Front. So 25 countries, 25 countries received Ukrainian books, and this is how we continue maintaining the connection with our internally displaced persons and Ukrainian refugees. So I bow in front of everybody who got involved in this effort. Mr. Oleh, please tell us about this initiative, what's going on, what's the current phase of it. Well, I remember 2 episodes from those March days back a year ago. We were accepting the internally displaced people, the refugees, in our publishing workshops, in manufacturing capacities. It was very difficult. We had to feed them, to heat them, to get them medicines. And when our colleagues started asking us to send the books for the kids, it was a little bit surprising to us, but it sounded that it's a vital basic necessity. And I think that this fact that it was a basic necessity, this is why our project continues. And I want to appreciate the effort of the publishers who gathered that 1 million books, and they gathered it within very short period. And the second episode is when we've realized, with the help of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, that we have to deliver the books not only across Ukraine, but we have to deliver them to Europe. Like Mr. Oleksandr mentioned, they were distributed in 25 countries throughout the world. So we've realized that Without the storages in our book capital in Kharkiv, it was impossible to fulfill this project. Kharkiv was on fire back then. There were shellings on the private publishers and government-controlled publishers' facilities, and a time will come, I hope, that when I will be able to tell about the operation when the trucks were loaded under fire in Kharkiv to get those books delivered to the peaceful towns of Germany and Poland where our schools were already deployed. I want to thank all the people who got involved, the owners of the publishing houses, the loaders, the drivers, the military, everybody who got involved in this project. It was very complicated, it was really difficult, and about 100 kilometers away in Izum, in Kupiansk, the advanced units, the avant-garde units of the enemy who captured our cities, they were burning our books in the libraries. So this is the answer to the question, where is civilization, where is barbarity, where is good, where is evil? The project will still continue. You know that there are already invincibility stations where all those books are distributed and the children can read those books. Other projects are related to the support of our military with the books. There was an effort in the hospital, and we will continue developing this project. So again, I appreciate the efforts of all the publishers, of all the logisticians who made it not only across our country, but who made all the way to Europe too. Miss Emina, Ukrainian book is very important for our kids abroad. We understand that the full-scale invasion is going on for more than 1 year, and it's a basic necessity for our children to receive those books abroad. So to what extent was your agency, your ministry, involved in this charity? Thank you very much, dear Mr. Oleksandr, Oleh, Myroslav, Vasil. Thank you, dear colleagues, for coming and showing interest to this initiative, and I want to greet Ukrinform with its 105 years anniversary, and I think that the standard demonstrated currently by Ukrinform is a very good pledge of our resistance and resilience as a nation, in the same way that Ukrainian book has become a symbol of resistance of our identity. This project is a priority for the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. When we receive the ministers of foreign affairs of other countries, we, using the data of United Nations, say that there are 8 million people who became the refugees abroad. And when I go abroad by myself, I meet the Ukrainians abroad, and the first question that they're asking me is, when is the war going to be over? We want to come back soon. And I think that this Ukrainian book that we, together with the Ministry of Culture and State Broadcasting Committee, that we distribute today is the link, is the bridge that lets them maintain the hope that they would come back and not to lose this connection, the emotional connection with Ukraine. It's very important when us as a nation, we keep living during these most difficult pages of our modern history. And thanks to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we distributed more than 600,000 books in more than 25 countries, and there is the reverse process, by the way. The Leiden University from the Netherlands handed 1,000 European books to us, very high quality European books. And we call this project European Book for Ukrainian Students. This is a mirror project. So Ukrainian projects that we're talking about today, we do it jointly with our partners, Ukrainian Bookshelf, with the First Lady and the Ministry of Culture. 32 countries have Ukrainian books in their libraries or in Ukrainian communities, and the last country, and I hope not the last shelf in the Middle East, is United Arab Emirates. The same thing was opened in Cape Town, South Africa, and I hope that geography will expand. And Books Without Borders is the project about the books for children, for the Ukrainian children who are currently abroad. Thanks to our ambassador, Mr. Vasil, we implemented this project in Australia in amount of 5,000 books. It seems like the geography is distant, but it didn't become an obstacle for us to hand over our books to our children abroad. And I want to say that such projects are important not from only a practical point of view, but also from the symbolic point of view, like a signal that Mr. Zelensky is trying to send that Ukrainian diplomacy is not aimed at building comfortable, well, not comfortable conditions, but Ukrainians' diplomacy goal is to have Ukrainian people return to Ukraine, and I think that this will be done thanks to the books too. If I may add just a couple of words, if we talk broadly about the books, the process is advancing also thanks to the support of Ukrainian publishers in different fairs that were taking place last year, and Ukrainian publishers were present there too, but there is a reverse process too from our partner countries. In France and Germany, the books are translated of the modern Ukrainian authors. They are translated in French and German. There are special funds allocated for this. Also, there are funds allocated for the translation of well-known, famous French authors to replenish Ukrainian libraries. So the process is underway, and I hope that regardless the difficulties in the publishers sector, this is how our publishers are going to be supported. Mr. Vasil, please get engaged in our conversation. How was this charity accepted in Poland? What was the feedback we were receiving? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I really can say that the Ukrainian book has become popular in Poland, and it's becoming increasingly popular not only among the citizens of Ukraine but also among the citizens of Poland too. We appreciate the efforts of the Ministries of Foreign Affairs and Ministry of Culture, all the Ukrainian volunteers, all the Ukrainian publishers who help us spread the Ukrainian book here in Poland, as this process is going on for 1 year already, and there are very ambitious plans. It's very good that Ukrainian book keeps traveling, keeps following Ukrainians abroad, and they keep this connection with the Ukrainian state thanks to the Ukrainian book too. So I want to say that we spread more than 30,000 Ukrainian books in Polish schools, because we know that more than 200,000 Ukrainian children study in Polish schools, and this is a great value for them, the Ukrainian book. It's good that the Ukrainian kids can read, can study in Ukrainian and maintain these ties with their motherland. We also opened in Warsaw a Ukrainian bookshelf, and I want to mention that specifically in Warsaw this bookshelf was opened with the support of the First Lady Olena Zelenska, and the book fund for this library was received under the project Ukrainian Book for Ukrainian Children. So our cooperation with the State Committee, State Broadcasting Committee, is quite active. We keep spreading those books. I was visiting Poznan recently. I was visiting the Ukrainian community there. About 150 Ukrainian citizens live in a specialized center, including their children, and it was my honor to distribute those books among the Ukrainian kids who expressed their deep gratitude for this. And we keep spreading the Ukrainian books in Wrocław and other cities of Poland, so I want to extend my appreciation to everybody who got involved in this project. Us as diplomats, we will continue this initiative here in Poland, and I want to emphasize that the process of spreading Ukrainian books was supported by the Polish side. The Ministry of Culture and National Heritage of Poland allocates funds so that the Polish publishers print books in Ukrainian here in Poland, and that's a great support for us. It's a good understanding, a clear signal of solidarity of Polish government and Polish people with the Ukrainian people, with the people who fight not only for the freedom of their people, of their land, but for the freedom of the whole Europe too. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Myroslav. What's the situation in the Republic, Mr. Myroslav, what's the situation in Republic of Slovakia? Well, thank you, everybody. I want to extend my appreciation to all the organizers of this project. It's a very valuable project, just like Mr. Minister mentioned. It's a kind of a weapon. Even the Russians say about it what Ms. Emine said, that this project is the symbol of resistance and identity of our Ukrainian identity. But I would like to add that also this project helps creating some atmosphere of security and safety for Ukrainians in the unfamiliar environment when they read a book, whether they are adults or kids, which are numerous here in Slovakia too. I think that they feel more comfortable in these circumstances. They unfortunately ended up into, well, regarding the embassy, since the very beginning of the initiative, the embassy got involved in its implementation. In the end of March, we found the storage on a non-paid basis. We equipped so-called book hub, where the publishers and regular volunteers were able to bring any literature, say scientific, children's books, all types of. So that book hub was created to disseminate books across the European countries and obviously Slovakia, and it continues operating until now. Regarding the Republic of Slovakia itself, thanks to this project, we were able to disseminate about 80,000 different Ukrainian books, and as I mentioned, they are both scientific and children's books and art books. These books were disseminated mostly among the centers of the support for Ukrainian in Prešov, Bratislava, Tarnava, Košice, Habčíkovo. There is a huge center where more than 1,000 Ukrainians are staying for more than 1 year. But this project also helped us implement another project that was mentioned today, the project by Ms. Olena Zelensky, the First Lady. I'm talking about the Ukrainian bookshelves. So in this book and sufficient number of, using this book hub and with the sufficient number of books, we were able to open Ukrainian bookshelves in the State Library in Bratislava. And in one of the districts of Bratislava, we used this opportunity. We used the opportunity to open the bookshelf in the Ukrainian Museum, and obviously we opened a couple in the educational institutions where the study is in Ukrainian. The center continues operating. As I mentioned, we have sufficient books. We're not going to stop shortly, and there is a potential for further dissemination of the books and for implementation of the project, and we will do everything we can do so this project continues under the conditions like this. Thank you, Mr. Myroslav. Dear colleagues, if you have any questions on the floor, please introduce yourself. Good afternoon, Svetlana Tkachuk, Ukrinform. My question is to the speakers. I would like to focus my attention on the options of development of this project. How you think it may branch out within, maybe within the framework of this initiative? You are going to renew the university or library funds in Ukrainian educational institutions, maybe with engagement maybe of European partners, and what's your realistic evaluation how long this initiative is about to continue? Thank you. Well, as to the renewal of funds, we're talking about the tens of millions of books. So until our publishing houses start working, until we receive the money to renew those funds, because as you all know, there's a lot of Soviet era books, we may hardly count on some real effect. Well, it's good that both Polish and French and the German, they allocate funds to have their books translated in Ukrainian. This is a valuable contribution, but it's still a minor fraction comparing to the scale and the challenges that we are facing. So the launch of the Ukrainian Institute of Book this year at little cost, but it still gives us hope that the publishing industry, which degraded significantly this year, there are local stories of success. However, in general, there is still a big problem in this area. So the project will continue as long as it's needed. It is needed now, so I'm sure it will continue. Dear friends, do you have any more questions? We have another pleasant mission today. We see that the people gathered here in this studio who are responsible for implementation of this project, and I know that Mr. Oleh would like to award them for their active participation in the solution of the issue with the provision of the Ukrainians with the Ukrainian books. The first of all is the limited liability company, the publishing house Academia. Our greetings and thank you for getting involved. Limited liability company, publishing house Osvita, education. Limited liability company Antologia. Joint stock company Kharkiv Book Factory Globus. State publishing house The Press of Ukraine. Limited liability company Crystal Book. Shkolyar Training Center. Austin Publishing House. Limited liability company Training Books and Manuals. Limited liability company George Publishing House. And Charity International Fund, The Health of the Future. And personal awards, Mikhailo Dzehors, Second Secretary of the Embassy of Slovakia, of Ukraine in Slovakia, Ulyana Zadvornyak, the representative of Ukrainian Embassy in Austria, Yana Krivobok, Third Secretary of the Ukrainian Embassy in Republic of Poland, Irina Boroves, the Director of Department of Diplomacy and Public Relations in Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Ukraine, Yevgen Bozhenkov, the Director of Ukrainian Institute of Modernization of Education, Oksana Hankevich, Chief Specialist of the Department of Planning and Organization of Humanitarian Support of the Department of Humanitarian Support of Ministry of Defense of Ukraine. So dear friends, we want to thank all of you. Thank you for the awards. Well, microphone please. Dear organizers, dear present, on the behalf of the Ministry of Defense, I want to extend my appreciation for this effort that it was spread across the armed forces of Ukraine, starting with the hospitals. It's a great job. Honestly, I'm talking on behalf of myself. My impression is I'm having trouble talking today because with great honor I realized my personal involvement. I communicate frequently with our warriors who are in the front lines, who are soaked with powder. Everything smells with powder, shells, smoke there, but you can't imagine how they await for Ukrainian books. It's paradox that people should think about something else, but they can't wait for the Ukrainian books there in the front lines. I hope this effort will be continued, it will be spreading. The people need the live word in the military, they need the live book,
And I'll give you just a small example. Recently we were celebrating the Shevchenko days. We were communicating with the people, exchanging thoughts, citing, quoting, and then the military, the warriors, they come up to you and he tells you, I found some old Kobzar with myself from my grandfather, do you want to read it? But I tell him, like, I have this copy, but this is your family relic. So people wait for this book communication. This modern reality is all digitalized. That's all. It's all necessary, but the smell of the paper book, it cannot be replaced by anything. It's necessary. And as a practical advice for the military, for the troops, I'm sorry, I'm having trouble speaking. I know a lot, but I shouldn't say something excessive, something redundant. Our troops are now everywhere in trenches, in bunkers. They're not only in the military bases, and even before the full-scale aggression we had more than 400 libraries. Now we're expanded and we're all in different places now. So if book reaches that bunker, that trench, at least one book, it will be invaluable. People want to read Ukrainian, they want to see Ukrainian authors, that they wait for it. This is for the support of the spirit of our troops. This is extremely important. I apologize for my emotions, so let's go together to the victory. I know that Andriy Krotov is present in our studio, the volunteer. Miss Andriy, please let us know about your participation. Good afternoon, everybody. Andriy Krotov, Nikolaev. We started with our foundation. We started this effort in Mykolaiv. You know that part of the territory was deoccupied. In Snihurivka, almost all the books were destroyed in the libraries. In other communities, the funds were destroyed too. In Ochakiv, the library was destroyed after the explosion. The books were all destroyed, so we started transferring it to our regional library. Ukrainian books were transferred to the local libraries of the communities, so we handed books to the municipal libraries. So my impression is, when a library sees a Ukrainian book, there is joy in their eyes, there is happiness, and there is an extensive need. Everybody wants to have their funds replaced. Like Mr. Minister mentioned, a lot of books are in Russian, they're Soviet era. Everybody is ready to write them off and to get them replaced with a modern Ukrainian book. I trust in our victory, and I understand. So when you are being asked in Mykolaiv region about the renewal, tell them that the books are being renewed too. So yeah, this is what I'm talking about. Everybody wants to get Ukrainian books to replace the Russian ones, so we keep on working, and I hope everything is going to be all right. Thank you. Thank you. I'm seeing we have a Folio Publishing House Director General here in our studio. If you have anything to add, please go ahead. Well, thank you, Mr. Minister, Miss Emine, Mr. Oleh, and Mr. Ambassadors. The first thing I would like to say that all of us publishers, we keep working thanks to our readers, and the book market survived only because the Ukrainian readers turned their faces to the Ukrainian book. What's going on in the Ukrainian book market is very positive. It demonstrates the unity of Ukrainian people, and the demand grew significantly for Ukrainian literature of 30s, 40s, and Ukrainian classics for those writers who were killed by Soviet authorities and those who were writing abroad. That's a completely different book market, and this is why we have this opportunity extending our support within this initiative and directly to the military, and sending books abroad for the people who are currently there. And we understand that everybody who is at the moment abroad, to get them back later, we have to to have and maintain the cultural ties with Ukraine, and the book is one of these types of cultural ties. And I want to say that it can be considered as the task set by the publishers for the government. I want to say a couple of things. In the Northern Europe recently there was a new network of Russian bookstores opened with a center in Latvia, and it's not only a business project. And I'm sure that Mr. Ambassador in Poland will draw attention of our Polish colleagues that we need Ukrainian bookstore in Warsaw. We need a Ukrainian bookstore in Prague, Vilnius, Berlin, Bratislava, and other places where there's a lot of Ukrainians. It's the matter of national interest and security. It's a commercial job. We have to communicate with Ukrainian buyers, Ukrainian readers, and it would work if our Polish partners and other partners would help us. Another thing is, I'm convinced that the program, the similar program of e-support that saved the book market before the beginning of the full-scale invasion for the electronic book, for those who are abroad, it's not a complicated story. It's not complicated and it's not costly. It should be implemented by the government this year so that those people and their children don't switch to the books in other languages, but they continue studying using Ukrainian books and they continue reading Ukrainian books. And obviously what's going on in the libraries in the deoccupied territories, we see that will be happening. Then we communicate with our friends who are currently under occupation. In fact, everything Ukrainian is being destroyed there, and Ukrainian book is a part of what was destroyed. In the occupied Izum, there are no single Ukrainian book left. I think Mr. Minister saw it. In Shevchenkova, I'm sorry, in Balaklia, in Balaklia there were a couple of books left, but in Shevchenkova, where that was deoccupied right after Izum, I was visiting their libraries. All the sections related to modern Ukrainian literature were eliminated from there. Everything related to the modern Ukrainian history, I've seen those documents, they're all written off, and they were replaced by Soviet books and Russian books that were brought during that period. Well, it was funny, they didn't make it pulling those books out, but they just were unable to bring in all those Russian books, but they've brought a small bust of Pushkin. Well, yeah, it's funny, so I'm sure when other territories will be liberated, the Ukrainians should be coming back to libraries right after our troops enter there. So we should implement the state program related to the replacement of the library funds, first of all in the deoccupied territories. Thank you, Mr. Oleksandr. Dear friends, Mr. Oleksandr, I would appreciate if you send this information about the current Russian activities, and if you can self-organize these activities in European capitals, we will support this initiative and we will help you with it. There is a book about Ukrainians who are currently staying abroad with their interviews. Thank you, dear friends. If you have any questions or comments, please let me know. And I want to ask all of our publishers who has not yet got involved in this initiative, you see how useful and necessary it is. Please get involved. I want to thank all of our speakers today. Thank you for this initiative. Thank you for coming and telling us about this. Thank you. The war unfortunately goes on, and we continue working for our victory. We trust in our armed forces, and glory to Ukraine. Glory to the heroes.